Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will take place in the poetry discussion playlist here on the channel. The poem in question today is known as The Four Ages of Man by William Butler Yeats. And I think that it is a poem that can only really be put into context by other thinkers, right? I could sit here and talk to you all day about it, but that's maybe not going to do anybody any good, myself included. There are quotes, however, from someone that you will know by the time we get to the end of this poem, which will, I think, offer some type of framing, maybe, if that makes any sense. The poem itself reads as such: He with body waged a fight, but body won, it walks upright. Then he struggled with the heart. Innocence and peace depart. Then he struggled with the mind. His proud heart he left behind. Now his wars on God begin. At stroke of midnight, God shall win. So, the ultimate sort of idea here, not the message, but the idea is that we're always losing, right? He with body waged a war, and the body won. Then it's the heart, but innocence and peace depart. The innocence and peace are, the heart, right? Then he struggled with the mind. His proud heart he left behind. Now his wars on God begin, and he loses that one too. But the four ages of man. Where are we at here? Oh, nope, that's not right. We got one. We got two. We got three. These are couplet by couplet. We are going through this poem. Obviously, the number is 4. Maybe it helps us to look at a little bit of them, he, pardon me, I apologize for that. He with body waged a fight, but body won, it walks upright. That is learning to walk, right? Childhood. Then he struggled with the heart. Innocence and peace depart. Maybe we're looking at adolescence here, when you're first starting to really become a social being, what it means to be a social being. Maybe you're finding your puppy love. Maybe you're finding your passions. But those things do not last because you are inundated. You are initiated to the real world. Then he struggled with the mind. You're entering the workforce and what your life's labor shall be. His proud heart he left behind. Every day I go to work. I have to leave my heart behind. I have to leave those things behind that I'm dedicating my life to. Not that I'm doing with my life, but that I'm dedicating my life to. Now his wars on God begin. At stroke of midnight, God shall win. Saying probably pretty clearly here that once mortality comes into focus, we feel like we have to figure that part of it out. Here's the thing with this poem. Here's A, right? Then there's B. Then there's C. Those are all, let's get something that stands out here. Those are all the same thing. Nobody cares. That's not what the poem's really about. Those things, they're maybe a bit interesting to think about, but they're not actually contextual with anything that life means. They're not actually contextual with anything that it means to try to figure out life or move forward with life. They're not adding anything to the poem itself. Not really. They're interesting, okay, but they're not important. They're there in essence. He with body waged a fight, but body won, it walks upright. What does that mean? Oh, okay, I got it. I'm with you. I'm with you, Billy Butler. Well, from Kansas City, I never realized William Butler was Billy Butler. But anyway, then he struggled with the heart. Innocence and peace depart. Oh, I get you, man. I'm with you now, baby. Yeah, we're on the same side. Then he struggled with the mind his proud heart he left behind. Yeah, man. Every day I gotta get up and go to work. It takes me so much caffeine to get focused. I understand what you're talking about here. I understand, baby. You and I, we're on the same page. Now his wars with God begin. At stroke of midnight, God shall win. Whoa, 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 whoa. What? Wait, what? But but you're already bought in. Those first three couplets, those first three stages or ages, I guess, of man, you already bought in. You're here for the last part. So there are, as you could probably have guessed, some quotes from Nietzsche that might help us wrestle with this final couplet. One of my favorite quotes on God, one of my favorite quotes on people, one of my favorite quotes in general from Nietzsche. Is man one of God's blunders, or is God one of man's blunders? I don't know a whole lot about the Quran, but I know that the Quran incorporates the Old Testament and some of the New Testament, I believe. But I know quite a bit about the New Testament, and I know quite a bit about the Old Testament. Maybe not quite a bit. I know cursory amounts about both of those books as well. Those books can be read as nothing but God quarreling with man. Right? Say what you want. I mean, I'm not saying any of these books are more or less true than the other. That's not the statement I'm making. What I'm saying is, if you read any of those religious texts, it's very difficult to come away thinking that this is a mutually beneficial relationship with God. Either we're kind of dummies and we got to get put back in our place quite a bit, or we made the whole thing up and we're making the whole thing up in order to chastise ourselves and each other, right? So this is a quote, I think, that can aptly describe a lot of what's going on here. Now his wars on God begin. At stroke of midnight, God shall win. Now the poet goes one step further than posing the question. The poet goes one step further and says, hey, baby, it's all for naught. Once that clock strikes 12, God wins, and you're going to have to answer to him, right? Suggesting that in these wars on God, our speaker had declared otherwise, right? It's sort of one of the things about this poem that maybe does not get observed as often as, I won't say necessary, but as often as maybe should be the case. If you have wars on God and in the end God wins, then what that's saying is the individual in question had decided that God was not. Now, also from Nietzsche, one should only question gods where none but gods can reply. Is that this right here? We have these wars with God. The statement in question, now his wars on God begin. I said with. With would be more suggestive of the fact that the individual in question was warring, was questioning God where only God can reply. Having wars on God, we're getting psychedelic here, baby, trippy. Having wars on God suggests something different entirely. Wars on God suggest that God himself is not a participant. Suggests that God himself is the subject. God himself is the battlefield. God himself is the oil. God himself is the mineral rich environment that is being battled on, not with. Battles with God suggest that on the other end of your saber, on the other end of your scope, that's God. Whether or not God exists determines where your lance is landing, where your bullet is penetrating. If there is no God, then so what? But if there is, right? So this is a poem that I think is another brief poem, but there's quite a punch at the end here. That's all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more literary goodness in the future. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.